Yo, boys, we're back here with another episode of the Loyal Sons Forever True podcast, and we're on episode 10. And my name's Carson Hansen.
And I'm Aiden Gilmore. And today we have a special guest. And our special guest today is our safety on the football team, Beau Freyler.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Excited to talk about faith and learn something new and just grow.
Yeah,
Excited.
for sure. So, kind of today, what we wanted to talk about was kind of what do we worship like on a regular basis, and kind of everything that like consists with that. But before we like jump into that topic, we're just gonna ask Beau about like his testimony, how he was brought up, and kind of his college experience and how he came to faith. So,
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Grew up in a Christian household, both my parents. So, blessed to be in a family that, is faithful. But growing up, I would say didn't really grasp, what it really meant to be devoted and understand the full component of what your faith means to you personally and that relationship with God. So coming here to college, probably was lost at times, but, going through adversity, injuries, mental highs and lows, things of that nature. And then really having some great friends and mentors in my life that helped show me the way. And I would say probably going into my sophomore years where, I fully devoted myself to Christ and got the opportunity to get baptized this last winter by you guys. So that was awesome. Thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
But, now just learning, growing in my faith, and, it's been an awesome process and growing my relationship with God.
Yeah. So, what was kind of like the turning point, I would say, like when you truly devoted your life to Christ? Like, what was kind of like the turning point, or like kind of that moment, or maybe it's not even a moment, but just like that time where you were like, all right,
Yeah.
like it's time to go all in?
Or like what made you turn, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, sophomore year. I guess I'll go back to high school. Had like 3 shoulder surgeries, so dealt with a lot of adversity, the mental highs and lows of that, as you guys know, with the injury. So sophomore year, kind of banged up my shoulder again and, was going through a tough time mentally as well as physically. And I'm like, man, I can't do this by myself. So, I opened my Bible and I'm like, man, like, I've been lost. I've been lost. And that from that moment on, just really devoting my life and leaning on the strength of the Lord in my life and devoting myself to Him. So, I would say if I had to give a moment, it would definitely be going through that adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, God sometimes will do that for a reason. Like, I felt like for me, it was like tearing my hamstring like over and over and over again. And it was kind of wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're going to be talking about, who we worship and like, do we really just like put all our worship into God? And something, He's a selfish God, like it says in Exodus 24 and 5. God says that he's selfish, and sometimes He will do things to us that we may not like break your shoulder or like tear my hamstring or have sucky knees like this kid over here.
Yeah.
And like just so we can find Him and just so we can like fully dive into Him, because He is a selfish God, but that's all right. Like, we're selfish beings as well, and we're made in His image, but sometimes we need to take our selfishness and put it into Christ Himself.
Yeah. I think just kind of going off of like the injuries part is like sometimes we like need to be like brought through the mud of kind of like
Humbled.
Yeah, it's humbled, and it's like a self-check. Like, are you actually mentally prepared for what's going on?
Yeah, because as men, it's just like we have so much pride that we just don't. We want to do everything by ourselves,
Yep.
and we just want to keep doing everything by ourselves. We'd never want to ask for help, and that's kind of just like a point where, like what Beau was talking about, like he just was like, "All right, I'm done. Like I surrender, and like I'm giving my life to you now." So yeah, I think that's really cool. It's a really pivotal moment and very humbling, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go into Exodus 32 and the golden calf and how other people in Jerusalem were worshiping other things, even though it was God's city and God's country. Other people were worshiping other things. Even when is that when Moses went up to the mountain, the golden calf? Yeah.
Yeah, I can just give a summary quick. So Moses was bringing like the Israelites out of to like bring them to the promised land. And so he like brought them out, but they were going through like many tribulations. They were going through many hard things on their journey. Um, and then they were like kind of in a tough spot. So they didn't really like trust that Moses was like leading them there. So they, instead of like worshiping God, which God appointed Moses to be their leader. And instead of trusting in like what Moses was going to do for them, they were just like, all right, we're just gonna worship this like golden calf. So they put a bunch of metal together, kind of just like handcrafted it, molded it together, and they just started worshiping it because they were like, well, nothing else is working. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like the basic summary.
And a lot of people might be watching this right now and think, how could you worship a golden calf? And that's funny because we worship these things all the time. That's what we do. And like people maybe in 400 years, maybe people will look back and be like, how did people worship a phone? Like,
Right.
it's the same thing. Like, how did people worship a calf? How did people worship a phone? And like, it's way more than that. We might worship cars. We might worship other things in life.
Right.
And it's those things are like those things aren't bad to have. You just have to think about that. But everything works in moderation. Like if you have a phone, use it for its purpose. If you have clothes, use it for its purpose. There's no reason to abuse it, and totally just worship it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say nowadays it's so easy to, fall into the trap of following like I guess I'll do like Taylor Swift, for example. Like these people that we idolize sometimes and put so much of our focus in of like, and these are worldly things that we shouldn't be putting so much effort, time and focus onto when, the one sole thing that we should be focusing, our time, our effort, our relationship, everything should, be focused on God. But so many different distractions and avenues that you can go through nowadays to where you can take your focus off of Christ and it just comes down to distractions.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it says. I don't know where it says that, but the devil is a master of distraction.
Yeah.
He's really good at taking your eyes off of Christ,
Yeah.
what the real prize is.
Yeah.
And it's our job to keep focused and help others keep focused on Christ.
Yeah. I think if the devil can't like make you fall in sin in like whatever it could be, I think his main goal for people that have accepted Christ is to kind of speed you up in your life as much as you can so you lose that time with Christ, so you stop getting closer to him. And then once you like start to kind of just like glide through your relationship with him, like you kind of are just stagnant through it. It's almost like he knows like you're going to be saved because you're sealed once you accept Christ. But he's doing whatever he can because he's just has bad intentions for everything. So whatever he can do to kind of derail you from your full potential with Christ is like that's what he's going to do. And yeah. But kind of going back to the golden calf thing, the Israelites idolize the golden calf, but there are many things in our lives that can be just as bad. It doesn't just have to be a golden calf. It could be phone, what Gilly said, sport, health, girlfriend, etc. Like whatever it is. And a lot of the things like I was thinking about like health. If I'm always thinking about, how am I going to get healthy? Like, and just researching stuff, like how can I get better, whatever. Like it can become an idol in your life. It can be something that like truly consumes you and how you live life, and it truly like brings you to a state where you're just like, all right, like I can't do this anymore, and you're kind of just like helpless at that point. Yeah. So just keep going back to Christ no matter what it is. Like don't overvalue things. Take them in moderation and just worship Christ as like the center of your life.
Yeah. Also, like some people may be wondering, like sometimes I even wonder, like, how do I know if I'm worshiping something else, And honestly, it's just, if it's sucking too much out of me and I know it's not good for me, then I'm probably like putting my eyes or like putting, like, what do you call it? Like putting your eggs in all in one basket. Like
Yeah.
if you're just on your phone and just like glued into TikTok or like Instagram, just
Yeah.
like, let's say for like 4 hours, like check your screen time. That might tell you like what you're worshiping. But it could be other things, like, you know, you could be obsessed with like TV shows and just literally spend your whole day just going on. And like some of you students out there, you might be like obsessed with school. Like you're so obsessed about getting like a good grade and like so obsessed, like you're just doing homework nonstop, studying nonstop.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like that with us for like football, like just nonstop practice, nonstop lift. Like I know it's good to be better and try to be better, but you know, again, everything in moderation.
Right.
And if you do want to be better in those certain things, like sometimes you just got to sit back and be like, hey God, what do I need to do? Or like, you know, pray to Him and be like, hey, like you tell me what to do. And if you get back like, hey, I should be doing extra workouts, then I'll go do it. I should study more.
Yeah.
But it's everything in moderation.
Well, yeah, I like whatever you're doing, like 1 Corinthians 10:31, like whatever you're doing, do it for the glory of God. So whenever you're doing those things in moderation, like it's not a bad thing to do them, but like when you're doing them, like glorify Christ in them and what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like perfectly fine. Like that's what pleases God is when we're glorifying Him in everything we do.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Like if you're on social media, how can you do it to glorify God? And like, you know, anything really. You know, football, school.
Yeah, I would say that takes effort. Like you have to be in a present state of mind to be able to do that. Like you said, if you're just gliding through your days all the time and you're not taking the time to pray and be in prayer and kind of almost be in silence. I don't know if you said that or RJ said that. Man, that was powerful to me. Is like we have to spend that time with God to know what He's calling upon us to do. We can't just, you know, assume we're doing everything for His glory. So, you know, I think, you know, for me is being present. Like I'll take time, just breathe throughout my day and pray and be like, I got to spend this time with God. And I know if something is distracting me, something's taken away, like that's when I would say I'm idolizing something that's taking time away from, you know, time in my day. I know I'm, you know, spending with God. You know, the end of every night, if something's sucking me away from that, like watching TV show, being on my phone, whatever it may be, I know, you know, that's an issue. And you know, sometimes I catch myself, I got to recenter myself and put Christ at the center of things. But, you know, nowadays it's hard to do that. But, you know, with the present state of mind, I would say, in my opinion, that could be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's also not like, you know, you can do things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can, like, hey, you want to watch a movie that you've been trying to watch? Like, hey, that's okay to go watch that. It's just like, are you spending time with God too? It's just like, He just wants to hear from you for a little bit. Like, even if it's just 5 minutes, like every day, if you could just go in prayer, read, just everyday consistency. Like, consistency is where it's at.
Yeah. I think we should like just go around, share kind of like maybe some of our idols
Yeah.
have been in the past, or it's kind of just something that it's kind of been lately or whatever. Because we're not perfect people. Like we're not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, we go home and we read the Bible for 4 hours. Like we're not perfect people, and we're not trying to be. So I think we should just go around and just like maybe talk about one or two things that kind of been idolizing. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I know one thing that I've idolized in the past, I would say, is music. Like I was like so deep into it. Like all I'd want to do is just listen, you know, over and over and over. And also when I was a kid, maybe like video games, just like I would let it suck up all my time, and I would only want to do that. Like didn't matter what else was going on in my life. And I would say like now, it'd be football, and you know, sometimes for me, like even is like shopping. Like I'll be like, what's the next thing? Like what's the next cool thing you can get, right? Like I feel like a lot of people do that without even noticing, because you'll go out like look online, look on your phone, like oh like that's cool, like oh that's cool, oh that's cool. So I feel like I've been struggling with that a little bit lately, but you know, it's just again everything in moderation. Like it's not a bad thing to go shopping sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just looking. Sometimes I just look for the next best thing, and just need to stay in the present and be happy with what I have like right now.
Right.
And I think that's important to just be present.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next. So, yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. Football is it can feel like, the majority of my life for most of the time. I spend a lot of time just being concerned with, am I doing enough? Am I doing everything I can to be the best, football player I can be? And so, I spend a lot of time in the building, spend all day in the building, but I would say football can, I can idolize football and trying to just be the best at that for sure. And I also say just my phone, like, fall victim to just scrolling through Instagram Reels for like an hour at a time. Like, it's a waste of time sometimes, Sometimes you feel like you need that time to decompress. But, it's distracting. It can take you away from, spending time with God, especially at night, like I said. If it's like 9 o'clock and I know I'm got to go to bed at like 9:30, 10, and, I like to spend time with God. At the end of the day, like, I got to put the phone down. So, I would say, football and my phone and probably the two biggest things for me, for sure.
Yeah. I would say for me, probably be lately has been like health, like wanting so much to, like, I'm gonna be like, all right, so once I get there, then I'm gonna be happy. And it kind of is like, I feel like in a lot of things, it's like, once I get that car, once I get this, once I get that, then I'll be happy. And that, I think that's like the start of idolizing something.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of gets deeper and deeper. So I would say health, because it consumes just like so much. Like, I feel like I'm a doctor. Like, my knees, I feel like I know everything. And instead of just like doing that, I just pray about it and just like let God handle it, because I'm not gonna do anything, like, and the only thing that can help in the situation is just prayer. And but like just doing my treatment stuff, like, there's no problem with that. Just like doing the regular routine, but then after that, like, don't be consumed by it. Don't let it consume your thoughts. And then another thing, probably just like, I would say, like, golfing, like,
I was about to say the same thing. I was about to
buying
say,
the next club,
your hobbies, I feel like.
buying the next club, or
I feel like you have like, you're always like, your hobbies, you're always just like on to the next, like, or on to the next.
Yeah.
Cause like, I just thought that was
It's
so
easy
funny.
to do that. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, just like buying the next club, or like getting more tackle for fishing, whatever it is. Like, I just like need to relax and like chill out on like the materialistic things in life, and so.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did like how you said like the next best thing, because I feel like that's what I was saying, like, with shopping.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, like, that looks so much cooler than what I have right now. Like, I want that so bad. And then sometimes you get like, okay, here's a great example of like, I feel like what I've been through is like, I want the next best thing, right? So it's just like, oh, I wish I could have that. Like, oh. And then you look at your bank account and you're like, I can't afford that. So then what do you become obsessed with after that?
Money.
And then you're like thinking like, oh my gosh, like, how can I get as much money as possible? Like, oh, like, just so I can get these things. But if you think about that, like, what is the point to get that money just to get these random material things?
Right.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Really, money should just be used again for like God's will, and just like everything in your life should be. But sometimes it's hard. We just need to, again, stay your eyes focused on Christ.
Yeah, I got a verse for that. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? I don't know what verse it is, but that's just something that kind of popped in my head.
It's a great one.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
We got random
thing of the day. Anyone have one?
Major.
Random what? Random thought of the day?
Random
fact of the
thought.
day?
Random thought.
Nah, we usually do like
like a
random question.
I'll think. Man. Okay. We'll just go with this. I got
a good one.
Okay, you got it.
if you were to play any other position on the field, what position would you want to play?
Right.
I would say I'll probably play running back.
Oh, that's crazy. I was just about to say the same thing. I was gonna say running back. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds fun because you don't have to memorize too much. Because I would say like tight end, but like
They got a lot
They got a
going on.
lot of going on in their head. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems really confusing.
Yeah.
So I feel like
tight end is absolutely. I would say probably wide receiver
yeah, for you, it's not that far
because
off.
quarterback
Yeah.
just knows. Like
Yeah,
you have to know
that's
way
too
too
much.
much. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, wide receiver. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll end it. I'm a big trivia guy. I love playing trivia. So I'll give you all a question. I'll see who can answer it. This is a good one because we were playing trivia, all the safeties at breakfast the other day.
We all playing like trivia crack or what?
Just
Oh,
straight
okay.
trivia, just
Okay.
asking each other questions. All right. The question of the day: what food never spoils?
What food never?
I'll give you a hint. It's kind of like a condiment, I would say.
Salt.
Mm-mm.
That was a good guess. Well, that's not really. Is that a?
It's something
condiment,
sweet.
though?
It's something sweet.
Yeah, salt is definitely a condiment.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Not mustard.
Stumped?
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Man.
I have no idea.
Honey.
Honey. It
Honey?
never.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have ever guessed that.
That's a great trivia question, bro.
Yeah. It doesn't rot.
I guess not.
Because it's just like 100% natural, like
Yeah,
it's
but
from straight from
I think it
earth.
just crystallizes, but it doesn't go bad.
okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salt. You would
That's-
think salt wouldn't go bad either, because it's like a
I mean,
rock.
that's
true.
not really a condiment, though.
That is definitely a condiment.
I don't know.
You put it on
don't know.
food.
Seasoning.
You can.
See, it's a seasoning.
It's
It's,
a
not a
seasoning.
condiment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can
Yeah.
agree.
All
All right.
All right.
That's episode 10.
Yeah. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See you, boys.
You hit the square.
Oh.